Welcome to another Chiller Chat. This is our episode, and we're filming at the Mosaic Cafe. And tonight our guest is David Dietz.
Hello.
He is a producer, director, actor, and writer.
Jack of all trades, master of none. That's what I like to say.
So, would you like to start by talking about how it was that you got into acting?
Well, my mother will tell you the story that it basically started when I opened the refrigerator door and the light came on. And I was like, "Hey!" Yeah. No, I actually, just was one of those kids who, when I was growing up, I like to, kind of escape into my own little world, just because I don't know if this is going to sound too self-pitying or anything, but I wasn't very popular in school. Surprise. So just going and pretending was, just always kind of my way of escaping and coping with the world. And then, as I got older, I realized that, okay, yes, they actually will let you do this on stage. So I got into, plays in junior high and even before that in elementary school. And then even later now, as I got older, I realized they'll actually pay you to do this. And
that's a perk.
It's a perk. So it's like, wow, I could actually make a living doing this. So that's basically sold me on the whole acting thing. I mean, I think I always had it in me from the word go. But yeah, as I got older,
an inborn talent and something.
Well,
really...
yeah. I don't know if it was a talent. The talent is for other people to decide. But I always had the desire to be out front and perform.
Okay.
So yeah.
And also, you're here also to plug your movie Indemnity.
Right.
And I watched it last night, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Great, thank you.
Especially like we were saying, for independent films, it's hard sometimes, getting funding for everything. And when you can pull something off, even still, you manage to do it. And to me, the desire, once again, the desire to do it, makes it so much more important in the end. Is there anything you would like to add on this?
Well, you said basically about funding. We basically had no funding for this movie at all. Any charges that were incurred on this came out of my pockets. So it's really kind of a labor of love for me. And like I said, when I was younger, I always, had the desire to perform, but I also had the desire to just create I don't know what you call it, create the stage where I wanted to perform. I was always, you always hear stories about people who, when they get started, they were always drawing comics or things like that. Guilty as charged. I did, draw comic books. Well, not comic books, but, like comics on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and basically they were like storyboards. Storyboarding. Yeah, and I didn't realize it until later on that that's storyboarding. So yeah, I guess I just always had the. No, I love those are the things that kind of inspired me to want to make my own kind of films. Everybody talks about Star Wars or something like that, and those were inspirations. But wanting to create V or Star Trek or another one of my favorite shows, The Greatest American Hero, when I was a kid. Wanting to write those kinds of things are really, what kind of inspired, got the genes flowing to want to,
Which
create something like this.
Which is actually good too, because like even talking to people, like, where are your inspirations? Where do your inspirations lie? And a lot of people, give some of the, oh, my inspiration has, Tom Savini inspired me, who we also interviewed before. And,
Right.
not a problem with that. But, like, I respect the fact that, you're sitting here citing Star Trek and V. And just, the unusual suspects for something where you could be inspired through creating a horror movie or
Right.
anything like that. And, the motivation for what it is that you do.
Yeah, well, what you said about Tom Savini, I don't think I've ever actually met Tom. I've heard he's an interesting character, but yeah, you always hear every filmmaker always will come out and say, oh, like I see people here tonight with some T-shirts. Like there's one fellow walking around here with a Bride of Frankenstein T-shirt, and they say, oh, that changed my life, or they saw an Ed Wood movie, like they saw Plan 9 from Outer Space or Bride of the Monster, and they thought, if Ed Wood could make something like that, I could make a film
You
like
and I
that.
were even talking about Lloyd Kaufman off
Right.
camera earlier, and I know a lot of people that cite him as being a big influence because he is so make an independent movie.
Mhm.
You don't need the
Make your own
budget.
damn movie.
Exactly,
Yep.
exactly, and I think that's great too when you have people like that doing things like especially make your own damn movie
Mhm.
where he's going to give you advice on how to do it in a way that you can afford to. Now, if you were,
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that my first Christmas with my wife, that was one of my presents that she got. She bought me Lloyd Kaufman's Make Your Own Damn Movie. And I read it cover to cover, and I think I was already in the process of making Indemnity at the time. And so reading little things like that, just you pick up little things here and there.
You're like,
from
oh,
it.
hey, wait, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can try that.
Mhm. Another book I really enjoyed, that I read while I was making this, was a book called $30 Film School. And the author's name escapes me right now, but he actually had a lot of good tips for independent filmmakers. Like if you don't have the budget to have all the big equipment and everything, basically all you need is you can shoot anything on any sort of camera. You can use any type of microphone. You can use something like this, even if you have like a little cheapy one or something like that. The point is to just get out there and make it.
Right. Just go and then worry about it later. How exactly was it that the whole cast came together?
Well, it came together mostly because they were people that I knew.
Okay.
And when you have been acting as long as I have, you get to know a lot of different people. So you just start looking around. You start thinking, okay, well, who would fit this part? Dan, who plays Joe, the bartender, I'd known him for a long time. He'd been playing a lot of characters like that in different films, mostly local independent films like that. So I thought he would be a great choice to play Joe. It's kind of funny about Crystal Ann, who plays Angela in the film. I hope if she's watching this, she knows that she's the best. I'm glad that I had her in there. She was not my first choice to play Angela. I had another actress named Laura Lee Browdigam play, and we shot actually two whole sequences with her in it before she decided that she couldn't continue in the role anymore. And it's kind of interesting because I think I'm going to put those scenes out as deleted scenes,
Okay.
because it's how often do you get the chance to watch a film or a deleted scene where you see another actor playing the role that eventually went to another actor.
Right, and it usually things aren't that subversive in the
Yeah.
filmmaking. Well, this was one person's take on it, but then we got somebody else's take, altogether.
Right. I mean, Crystal Ann was brilliant as Angela, and I was very happy that after Laura Lee decided that she couldn't continue, that Crystal Ann was willing to step in and play the role.
Yeah, I was actually very, very impressed with Crystal Ann's performance as playing Angela, because she's the tiny. She seems very tiny, very tiny, quiet girl.
Right.
But then toward the end, you get to see a little bit of her attitude emerge, and I just found that to be very amusing, because most of the time she's just very quiet, polite, thank you, and then toward the end, you're like, oh, nice.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, the beast comes out.
Yes, it does.
Everyone.
Is there anything else you would like to add? Any adventures or stories that you had along the way?
There is actually kind of a funny story that happened while we were filming in the bar. which the Smiling Moose on the south side in Pittsburgh. Terrific bar. They've actually had a lot of different independent films set scenes in there. So they're if you ever need a bar, they're a good place to go to.
They have the greatest decor too. They really do.
Yeah, and we've actually filmed in the upstairs bar. There's a the lower bar on the first floor. We were up on the second floor shooting, which, by the way, shooting for only 3 hours at a time on Sunday afternoons, not the best way to do it. But when you're shooting with no money, you have to take what you can get.
Right.
But anyway, the funny story was, when the film opens up, or when my character William enters the bar for the first time, it's very smoky. Well, we had wanted to do that smoke practically on the set. So Henry, who actually plays the deputy, and he was also a productionist, helped with production, shooting, and all that. He had a smoke machine and brought it into the bar, and we were just going to spray the smoke around and get the atmosphere going. What we hadn't taken into account was that the particulates in the fake smoke would actually set off the smoke detectors in the bar. So it set off the smoke detectors, and the fire department came out.
Nice.
Yeah, that was kind of fun. Well, unfortunately, it was just one fire truck that showed up, and we told them, what was going on, and they were very nice about it. The owner of the bar, he basically said, "All right, well, if anything happens, if I get a citation or everything, I'll be contacting you." And I said, "Okay, sure, that's fine." Fortunately, it's never happened, so thankfully that's never going to be an issue anymore. But so. Yeah, watch what you're doing with your practical stuff if you're shooting too.
Yeah, I didn't know that you could set off a smoke alarm with a fog machine.
Neither did I.
Yeah.
Apparently the particulates will
make a mental
activate.
note of that. Do not ever fill up a room with smoke alarms.
Or if you do, have them turn off the smoke alarms.
Yeah, that would work too. So now, your co-star, Crystal Ann Jones.
Crystal Ann Jones.
Was this the first movie that she ever did?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay.
She has done quite a few indie horror films. Probably her most notable one is a film called Meat for Satan's Icebox, which was actually distributed by Troma in 1995, and she played the lead role. Cindy Cavatelli in that particular film. And if you want to look for it, you can still find it available. It's on a double feature, actually with another film called Wise Guys vs. Zombies, which is sort of like Goodfellas meets Night of the Living Dead. But interestingly enough, the guy who made that movie, Adam Minerovich, ended up on The Walking Dead.
Huh.
He was one of, if you watch The Walking Dead, he was the guy who, I think he was having a fight with his wife or something, and he was beating her, and I think he ended up getting killed by zombies.
Yes, I'm actually down by the river.
Yeah.
So. Now we're going to talk about you have your own production company.
Right.
It is Z Diet 3 Productions.
Mm-hmm.
And what all do you do with your production company?
Well, we're still starting out. It's basically a one-man operation right now, me. But I would really like it to be kind of a full-service production company. We'd really like to, of course, continue doing feature films. Indemnity is our first effort out there. But I also, have worked extensively as a copywriter and a graphic designer and web designer. So basically trying to, do anything multimedia. That's kind of Z Diet 3 Productions' goal. It would be really great if I could do it full time, and it would, be enough income to support myself and my family. But since we're just starting out right now, we're just kind of, building and seeing where it goes from there.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to add about production company or?
Well, we're like I said, we're just trying to build a base right now. I've done some small work for like a financial advisor. Of course, I've built all of the websites for Indemnity, for my acting website, for Z Diet 3 Productions. Pretty much that's pretty much where it is right now.
But are you in production right now with anybody or like anything on the
Oh, okay. Thank you. Actually, yeah, that is a good question. I am, I guess you could say, as Diet 3 Productions. I have recently edited a new feature film from Kiss of Death Productions, which was the company that did Meet for Satan's Icebox that
Okay.
Crystal Ann Jones is in. Um, has an interesting title to it. It's called Fetish Dolls Die Laughing. I actually have heard one guy refer to it as kind of like the old school Italian, what do they call them?
The
Giallo.
splatter? Oh,
Giallo
okay.
movies. Yeah.
How do you get your actors? Like, do that? Do you put it in the actors guild, or do you just do it with friends?
Well, like I said, because I'm already, kind of a pretty, it sounds so egotistical to say, I'm a pretty well-established actor in Pittsburgh, so I know a lot of actors already. Um, and when you watch enough people, you start to think, okay, yeah, you're a good actor, you would be good in this part. The film Indemnity is like non-union. We didn't go use any union actors or union talent or anything like that. It was just basically a bunch of people with a passion who wanted to make something.
All right, so we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you, David, for joining us
Thank you
today.
for having me, Jamie.
And
Appreciate
thank
it.
you for attending in the audience. Good night.
How many times do I have to tell you, just because something isn't good doesn't mean it's bad?